Today, we're going to talk about a startup that's teaching AI to do something a little different. Not just writing code, but actually building the physical world around us. It's a company called Diode, and they're using AI to completely automate the design of circuit boards. You know, the brains inside basically every piece of modern electronics. And with over 11 million bucks in fresh funding from Andreessen Horowitz, their story is pretty wild, and it all starts with a very simple frustration. Right here, this is where it all began. One of the co-founders, Lenny, he comes from a software background, and he was just blown away by how the hardware world operates. See, in software, you write some code, a compiler instantly tells you, hey, you've got a typo, and you fix it. No big deal. But in hardware, a tiny mistake might not surface for weeks, only after the physical board comes back from the factory. And that mistake could cost thousands of dollars and set you back for weeks. And that really gets to the heart of what we can call the hardware dilemma. For decades, the whole process of designing these super critical components has been slow, methodical, and just incredibly unforgiving. All those modern tools for instant feedback that software engineers totally take for granted, they just haven't really existed for electrical engineers. I mean, the difference is just night and day. Software development is all about moving fast, trying things, iterating. You fail fast, you fix it in seconds. Hardware is the complete opposite. It's this high-stakes game where one tiny slip-up means thousands of dollars down the drain and weeks of waiting. There is no undo button once that circuit board is physically made. Okay, so armed with this big insight, the founders of Diode, Lenny and David, they head off to the super prestigious startup accelerator, Y Combinator. And they've got what they think is a brilliant idea to fix this whole problem. They were going to build the spell checker for hardware. Their first pitch was pretty straightforward. Hey, give us your electrical design and our AI will sniff out all the mistakes for you. The whole idea was to create that missing compiler, a tool that could look at a circuit board schematic and warn an engineer about those, silly mistakes before they spent all that money sending it off to be made. It seemed like the perfect solution, right? Well, then they actually talked to their customers, and the response was not what they were expecting at all. When they pitched their AI mistake finder to these seasoned, expert electrical engineers, the feedback they got was a very polite but very firm, we don't make mistakes. And that is a humbling lesson, let me tell you. It doesn't matter how clever your solution is if your customer doesn't even think they have the problem you're trying to solve. And look, this wasn't just one or two bad conversations. They talked to over 100 potential customers in just the first few weeks at YC, and almost every single one of them was a no. They had built some really interesting tech, but they had totally misjudged what the real pain point was. This was a crisis moment. So picture this, they're feeling pretty dejected. They just had to admit to their advisors that the idea was basically dead in the water. They sit down for this kind of somber lunch with a friend from their YC batch. That friend just happens to be selling AI models to robotics companies, and he mentions something, just offhand, that would change Diode's entire future. Their friend says, it's funny, all of my robotics customers are constantly asking me for custom circuit boards. And that was it. That was the light bulb moment. The real pain wasn't finding mistakes in a design. It was the absolute lack of engineers to even do the design work in the first place. So they pivot. They go from AI verification to AI generation. And the very first time they pitch this new idea, they get an instant yes. So this is the whole thing, the crucial insight. Customers didn't want a tool to help them do their job a little bit better. No, they wanted the entire solution. The real bottleneck wasn't finding a few mistakes here and there. It was the massive challenge and scarcity of talent needed just to create the design from scratch. So this led them to a completely game-changing new approach. What if you could reframe the whole hardware design process as a software problem? If you could somehow turn a circuit board schematic into something that looks and acts just like code, well then you could unlock all the automation and power of modern software development. So their new process is this really cool blend of AI and human expertise. First, they actually built a special language to describe circuit boards as code. It's pretty amazing. Then, a large language model, an LLM, writes that code. And finally, and this is key, their own in-house experts review and validate everything the AI designed before it gets sent to the client. That way, you're guaranteed a perfect result. Now, the reason this is even possible right now is just fascinating. The LLMs we have today, they've already been trained on countless data sheets, engineering textbooks, and technical documents. So in a way, they already have the knowledge of an electrical engineer locked away inside them. What they were missing was the right language to express that knowledge. Diode basically gave them that language, and in doing so unlocked this incredible latent capability. So the big question, did this massive pivot actually work? Well, the results of their new model as an AI-powered design shop, they kind of speak for themselves. First up, the financial validation. Raising $11.4 million in a Series A from a top-tier firm like Andreessen Horowitz, that is a massive vote of confidence in their new direction. But what's maybe even more impressive is their sheer productivity. In just a couple of months, the two founders, just the two of them, using their own AI system, designed over 100 different circuit boards for clients. That pace is just unheard of in the hardware world. And just to put that into perspective for you, a really productive traditional engineer might design 2 or 3 boards in that same amount of time. The Diode founders were each pumping out over 50. This isn't just a small improvement, right? This is a fundamental step change in what's possible. And it's all driven by this fusion of AI and human expertise. And if you look at their customer list, you can see just how broad this need really is. We're talking massive Fortune 100 companies, high-stakes industries like aerospace and medical devices, and even cutting-edge startups building everything from advanced robotics to autonomous boats. These aren't just little hobby projects. These are mission-critical components for some very serious companies. Ultimately, what really gets the founders excited is something even bigger than circuit boards. They see AI as this incredible force that has already totally transformed the world of software. And now they're on the absolute forefront of applying that very same force to designing and building real physical things. They really believe this is the next great frontier for technology. And that leaves us with a pretty fascinating question to think about. Diode has taught AI how to be an electrical engineer. So what's next? What other complex physical industries, from architecture to mechanical engineering, will AI soon learn to build from the ground up? It feels like the revolution in the physical world is really just getting started.